Well, good morning, my friends. Welcome to Faith United Church of Christ. I wonder if you'll join me in opening up our worship service here with our call to worship. It's actually a beautiful poem by the great Langston Hughes called I Dream a World. Please join me. I dream a world where no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man, every person is free, where wretchedness will hang its head in joy. Or if you'll join me in our opening hymn here. I wonder if I'm frozen. I look like I'm frozen. If you'll join me, let me try something here. Go to 2G. See if I'm frozen up. Am I back now? Well, let's go ahead with the service. We're going to open up our service with All Are Welcome.
Let us build a house where prophets speak and words are strong and true, where all God's children dare to seek to dream God's reign anew. Here the cross shall stand as witness and as symbol of God's grace. Here as one we claim the faith of Jesus. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where love is found in water, wine, and wheat. A banquet hall on holy ground where peace and justice meet. Here the love of God through Jesus is revealed in time and space. As we share in Christ the feast that frees us,
Well, good. I'm frozen. I don't know if you're seeing me right now, but I am not moving on my screen. It might just be my camera, so seeing me right now. This is a little frustrating. Let me try and go out of this for a second. Nope. Well, I'm hoping that you can hear me. Let me know on the screen if you can hear me. I just can't see myself moving right now, which is a little weird, but hopefully you can. And I'll try and work on this as the service goes on. Welcome, everyone, to Faith United Church of Christ on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning here in Florida, coming to you from the studios, live, hopefully, at Faith UCC, the Faith UCC studios. I want to extend a special, I am frozen, but you can hear me. This is really strange. I guess you get to just look at my mug until I get this figured out. Hopefully I can. So we'll see how this goes. But at least the audio is okay. So I'm going to keep on rolling. There's a special welcome to any visitors that we have with us today from Faith or from just to Faith UCC. If you are visiting with us, as we always like to say, why don't you go ahead and email our office at office@faithucc.org. We'll get you on our newsletter list. We keep you apprised of the many things that are going on here at Faith UCC. And we have a lot going on, so do go ahead and get on that newsletter list and see everything that's happening here. Just a quick note, and I just want to say a special welcome to anybody that's visiting with us, and usually I'm not just a picture on the screen. I usually actually get to move, but at least you can hear me again. Hey, I want to have a sermon talk back today. Hopefully we get to a sermon, and this clears up. But I put the meeting ID above me here. That's it's on Zoom. That's the ID and the passcode. So you can go ahead and catch the talk back there. It's going to be a bit of a challenging sermon on Faith UCC radio today. So do chime in and give me some feedback, and let's just talk and support one another. Given all that happened this week in this nation, it's good that we come together and support one another. So do join in right after the service. Get your coffee, get your tea, and come on in and let's have a conversation. I do want to raise up some concerns today. Please hold Dan Mann in your hearts and prayers. Continue to hold Dan. Dan is COVID-19 positive and has really had some struggles with fatigue. I think he's feeling better now, so he's on the mend. So we're thinking about you, Dan and Betty, as you take care of him. Also hold Tammy Jackson in your hearts and prayers. She had her second stent procedure last week, and she's doing well and resting and regaining her strength at home. So Tammy, we are thinking of you. And also continue to hold our Barb Campbell in your hearts and prayers. She's making great progress in rehab, and she is scheduled to go home on Tuesday. So that is great news. Also hold from the Diefenbachs, Aunt Carol Diefenbach in your hearts and prayers, aunt of Ginny, Debbie, and Penny, who fell and is in the hospital. It sounds like she might be in hospice. So we're thinking about you, Diefenbach family. We hold Aunt Carol and your whole family in our hearts in this time. Also hold Tom Litterdale, Tom and Cynthia. Tom had some tests, and they are awaiting results. And you know how hard that can be to await results for tests that you've had in the medical world. It can be really patience trying. So hold the Litterdales, Tom and Cynthia, in your hearts in this time. And finally, I want to lift up my own dad, who is actually hopefully on his way to the emergency room right now. He's been really fatigued the last week, so we convinced him to go in and get a COVID test. So he's 89 years old. It's never easy on an older person. So thinking of you, Dad, if you happen to be at home watching this, you better not be. You better be on your way to the hospital. So I'll check in with you later. So hold Bob McMillan up in your hearts and prayers. Also, a couple joys here. I saw on Facebook that Lucy and Sophie Valentino turned 13 years old yesterday. So a special happy birthday to the Valentino girls. Exciting age, 13 years old. Happy birthday, Lucy and Sophie. And then finally, I want to see these. Good thing I am frozen on. Well, not that I'm frozen, but at least you can see the screen behind me. These flowers were donated by the Anam Cara Women's Circle. of Faith UCC, and they're just a wonderful ministry. And they've partnered with a local business called Random Acts of Flowers. And if you know anything about them, they get flowers sent to them and dropped off from different things, social events, things like that. And then they repurpose them and then they give them away for people going through difficult times. So Anam Cara partnered with them, and they've been donating flowers busily for the last, I think, 6 months here. And these two behind me were donated to us today. It's the 99th and the 100th donation, and they are in honor of our church for all the work that we do and spreading love in the world through our radio program here. And they are also in honor of Ron Emery, a dear friend that we lost a year ago. So we dedicate these to Ron's partner, Stan, and to the work of the church this day. And thank you, Anam Cara, for dropping these off today. Each flower arrangement is blessed. And if you haven't received one and you're going through a dark time, you probably will. And if you know of someone that this could brighten their day, let me know, and I'll pass word to Leslie Kowalski or Marge Miller, and they can start coordinating a drop-off. So thank you, Anam Cara, for all your work, and thanks, Leslie, for dropping those off today. Okay, well, this is going to be an adventure. I can't really do too much to try and fix this camera here, so I think it's going to be a radio day. Remember when we started out doing this? We actually called it Faith UCC Radio Live, and I'd have the camera on the garden, not on my frozen mug, but in the garden. So it's kind of like we're back to, when we started this back in March and April. So today's a little bit of a flashback, but thank God, at least, you can hear me. I just want to say, if the service ever doesn't work, internet, things happen. I think what the plan will just will be to record it and then release it on Facebook and YouTube later in the day. So if that ever does happen, well, you just come back later on and enjoy a great service. So with that, my friends, let's, I hope this works. Let's move on into a time of centering with a wonderful video by the work of the people.
May God bless us with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we may live from deep within our hearts. May God bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of God's creations, so that we may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war, so that we may reach out our hands to comfort them and to turn their pain into joy. And may God bless us with just enough foolishness to believe that we can make a difference in the world, so that we can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all our children and all our neighbors who are poor. Amen.
My joy is gone, grief is upon me. My heart is sick. Hark, the cry of my poor people from far and wide in the land. Is the Lord not in Zion? Is our King not in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their images, with their foreign idols? The harvest is past, the summer is ended. We are not saved. For the hurt of my poor people, I am hurt. I mourn and dismay has taken hold of me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then has the health of my poor people not been restored? Frozen again. Well, I'm still frozen, my friends. The backdrop changed, though. You notice that? So at least I got that to work. I hope you can still hear me, so let me know on the screen if you can. And I promise after the service I'll figure out what the heck happened to my camera and get a backup camera going for next week. So, well, my friends, I didn't think I would say this so soon, but holy moly, I can't wait until 2022. It's going to be a much better year, I promise. Of course, we're only 10 days into the new year that we've been anticipating with such hope for newness, rejuvenation, and the freedom to live our lives again after being locked down and distanced and masked and isolated and so stressed out about our nation. And the new year started out so promising, didn't it? As the vaccine was being rolled out and God, Georgia came up big and sent people to the Senate people that believe health care is a human right and that believe in LGBT rights and that believe in the environment, that needs protections, and that believe in a higher minimum wage. Things looked so good. And how awesome it was to see Reverend Raphael Warnock, John Lewis's pastor, and the late John Lewis, and pastor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church, the first black man from Georgia elected to a Senate seat. How cool was that? And a young Jewish man in Ossoff, John Ossoff, who was also connected to John Lewis. I was so excited, and this year seemed to be just cruising right along to where we all hoped it was going to go. 2021 was starting off great, at least for 5.5 days. And then on Wednesday afternoon came, on the day of Epiphany, the day the powers of Herod were challenged and turned away from, and the new year punched us all kind of like right in the gut, it felt like, as we watched what Brian Williams called the white privilege jamboree descend on the United States Capitol building. I'm sure most of you watched like I did in horror, with deep sadness as a mob of insurrectionists and cultists overran the Capitol Police, broke into and ransacked Statuary Hall, eventually into the House and Senate chambers, where members of the entire Congress and the Vice President of the United States were together, certifying the results of a free and fair election results that were challenged, resulting in what? 59 dismissed lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits, and Supreme Court denials, and statements from the Justice Department and other election officials assuring there was no widespread fraud. It was all a lie. And before the day was over, we watched, God, as a Confederate flag was carried through our Capitol. Shocking. We watched as hordes of criminals emblazoned with T-shirts saying god-awful things like Camp Auschwitz or 6 million more, wrapped in flags bearing the name of a man who will remain nameless because his name is not worth mentioning. We saw people sitting in the Speaker of the House seat in her office, or up on her chair in the House chambers, and in the seat of the President of the Senate, up on the dais in the Senate chambers. They stole things, they destroyed property in the people's house. They smeared feces in the people's house. They looted the people's house, my house, your house, our house. They beat a Capitol police officer to death, these Blue Lives Matter hypocrites, in the people's house. They terrorized our house. And then you know what they did? You know what they did? They walked out. Some Capitol officers held the door for them. And they walked calmly out of our house, hands raised in victory, fists raised in white power, spewing their lies and their garbage. And they casually strolled out the door as though they were leaving a Target at closing or a sporting event at its conclusion. White privilege jamboree. God, that sums it up so well. And just a few months before, at a Black Lives Matter march outside of the Capitol, our house. The picture looked really different. If you've seen those images, you'll remember police in tactical gear by the hundreds standing on the steps of the Capitol, tear gas dispersing crowds, peaceful crowds, such as in Lafayette Square. It just begs the question, if these people who took over the Capitol on Wednesday would have been black, or been part of a Black Lives Matter protest, do you think they would have walked out of the Capitol, People's House, after breaking in and ransacking the place and stealing laptops and other sensitive information and smearing feces on the walls, killing a police officer, and parading through the hallowed halls, carrying the lectern that belongs to the Speaker of the House? Do you think that they would have walked casually out like they were leaving a Target at close? The door being held by the police as they exited calmly? Well, if you do believe that, I definitely have several bridges I'd like to sell you. It's not only the threat to democracy that was on display Wednesday, it was the fullness of white privilege and racism on display as well. I feel for my black sisters and brothers who witnessed that and thought, wow, George Floyd gets murdered as he was trying to cooperate with the police. Breonna Taylor gets murdered while she sleeps in her own bed. Jacob Blake gets shot in the back 7 times trying to get back into his car. The police officer just cleared of any and all charges. Colin Kaepernick gets kicked out of the NFL and accused of being anti-American for peacefully protesting and taking a knee during the anthem. All of this. And then this majority white horde of rioters, looters, killers, and thieves with their guns and their threats and their stupid flags. They do all of this, and they just stroll out the door, and they go to the bar afterwards. It's sick. It's just so sick. It's deeply un-American. And we are broken. And there's a lot of pain among us. So I sat long and hard on Friday, and most of yesterday with all of this, trying to come up with some words to write, for this sermon, as though there were some magic words. But nothing came to me for the longest time. I just stared at a blank screen, probably kind of like I look now. The anger and rage now kind of pushed aside for the time by a deep sense of grief that I feel right now for this nation, for us, for the families of those that lost their lives, especially that Capitol Hill police officer, for good people that love this country and democracy, for black folks that for far too long have borne the scourge of racism and watched the power of white privilege unfold unchecked before them time and again. I felt deep grief for the incoming administration that is going to have to somehow begin to put all this back together. And yes, I even felt grief for the wayward perpetrators of all of this mess, the lost ones, the violent ones, wondering how it is they have become who they are and where all the anger and violence stems from. This is not just the result of the belief in a stolen election. I mean, come on. We've seen this in Charlottesville, good people on both sides, and other places. This has been building, and a stolen election claim was just a catalyst for this underbelly of America that still thinks it's fighting a civil war to arise. They needed to be given permission. And one party, especially a few bad actors in it, in this nation has done so. So my grief pours out over that as well. How divided and hateful we are in this time. As I was thinking of scriptures for a time like this, I mean, yes, we have the classics like love your neighbor as yourself, but what if my neighbor just stormed the Capitol, killed a police officer, or is racist and rotten to the core? What if my neighbor wears t-shirts that say Camp Auschwitz, or writes, as I saw on one of the doors, murder the media, or talks seriously about hanging the vice president? How do I love that? We also have, the do unto others, have them do unto you, the golden rule. But what does that mean in the context of the belief in a white, Americanized, gun-toting Jesus that so many of them hold to? I mean, that's what they think they're doing for me. They think they are saving me, doing unto me. But that's just not true. Then somehow I ended up in a book I rarely, if ever, go to, the book of Lamentations. Just seemed appropriate timing to go there, to see what words it had to speak into these troubled times of lament. And I turned to its first verse, the very first words in the book, and they just blew me away. It said, "How lonely sits the city that was once full of people. How like a widow she has become. She that was once great among the nations, she that was a princess among the provinces, has become a vassal." Wow, a vassal, beholden to a king. In this sense, the king of insurrectionist ideology, evil and lies. The lament goes on, with imagery of being overtaken with enemies or being in distress. How lonely sits the city that has now become a vassal, overtaken by enemies, living in distress. Wow, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? The book of Lamentations does seem to fit this time really well. And it was written, after all, in a time of real pain and anguish, a time of confusion and fear as the Babylonians in the year 586 BCE had just overrun and conquered Jerusalem, killing many, exiling many more. Its words then reflect the deep pain that a community, a people, a nation were feeling in that terrible time. It speaks with deep grief about the plight of the nation and violation and desecration that came to this beloved and all-important city of Jerusalem. It reminds me just how so many of our scriptures are born in the pain of trying and terrible moments of fear and anxiety, moments like that in a conquered Jerusalem, and how they speak to difficult moments later on, moments in time like a conquered Capitol building, a fearful people, scared and worried nation in other times. It's the same with our text from Jeremiah that I put to those images that you heard. Jeremiah witnessed the same fall of Jerusalem, same thing. In fact, many believe he wrote the book of Lamentations, but that doesn't seem all that plausible. But he did reflect at times in lament-like style. Listen to him again. "My joy is gone. My grief is upon me. My heart is sick," he says. I have a feeling that is exactly what many of us are feeling right now after what we witnessed on Wednesday. He laments of his city being overrun, of being provoked to anger over his oppressors' images and idols. Wow. He talks of a band of traitors bending their tongues like bows, a little later on in that text, and about being wary of his neighbors, about not knowing who to trust. Overall, there's just a tone of anger that resonates deeply within him and from God, who he claims he is speaking for. Anger at the injustice, anger at the treasonous nature of his situation, anger at the images and idols, angry at the senseless violence. Lots of grief and anger. But even through all of his anger, his fear and lament, there's a trust in Jeremiah that things, they're going to be made right. That restoration is coming, that fear is not the reality that is going to prevail. And that we should not live our lives in fear. It begins right at the beginning of the book, actually, when God tells Jeremiah, he's calling him. He tells Jeremiah that phrase that we all hang onto from our holy books that is said to frightened shepherds in a field, or to a young scared Mary being told she'll birth a child, or to a poor and fearful crowd from Jesus on a hillside, or said to a frightened woman at an empty tomb. Those words, you know them. Be not afraid. Those are some of the first words in the book of Jeremiah, and they will reappear amidst all of that chaos and violence around him 5 more times just in that book. Be not afraid. I know we say them all the time, especially this year, but that's okay because they appear in some form literally hundreds and hundreds of times in the most difficult, scary, and uncertain times in the scriptures. And that should tell us something about trusting in the presence of God, that even in the worst of times, we should not lose hope in the belief that evil and violence and fear will never have the final say about anything, but hope will, love will, and peace will. Lament will have its say, and that's okay. We have to grieve. We have to lament the terrible times like Wednesday. We have to allow ourselves to do that. But that is not where we can stay. We shouldn't linger too long and lament. And Jeremiah can teach us this vividly. While there's some pretty weird stuff in his book, this book of his, and there is, he leaves us with a needed vision of moving from our fear and our anger to lament, and then onto speaking prophetic words and actions into the midst of the craziness, and not being afraid to do so. Anger, grief, lament, and then prophetic vision. This is what Jeremiah and the scripture text that is so similar to where we are has said to us today. So let's have our anger. We're entitled to that given what has just unfolded. The man that shall remain nameless, his minions, and several high-ranking elected officials have conspired to destroy this nation and the democracy that we hold dear, and we should be damn angry at that. Not to mention that there is potentially more of this stuff coming our way in the weeks ahead as we lead up to what has generally been a peaceful transfer of power on January 20th, and not to mention that we witnessed again the unfair balance of power and privilege that is included with being white in this country. These are things to be really angry over and to grieve and to lament. But Jeremiah knew we couldn't just stop at those things. We have to go further and be bearers of the change that we want to see. So let's spend this new year, this year of 2021, let's redeem it by speaking out more and more. Let's be the prophets we were called to be. Keep speaking out against the ways of the sick, twisted, seditionist movement. Let's speak out against white privilege that we keep seeing spring up again and again, and racism. Let's speak out against violence over peace as a way of change. As a church, let's speak out boldly against this idea of a perverted white American Jesus and his being on the side of the oppressors and violence inciters. Let's speak out against a Jesus who is against inclusion, a vision of a Jesus who is against inclusion, peace, love, and the fullness of life for all people. And let's speak out about churches and ideologies that use this gentle Jewish Middle Eastern man who embodied all the love of God in his being as a tool of white supremacy, judgment, and division. Let's speak out again and again and again through our preaching, our social media, our church sign, our banners, our gatherings and protest, our wristbands and face masks, in any way that we can. Anger, grief, lament, prophetic speech. Through this movement from one of those to the other, we can find the birth of a hope that is free from fear, that can transcend all this madness and bring us to the peace we so desire. Anger, grief, lament, then prophecy. These are the things we need in this time. They belong together. The prophets like Jeremiah have been showing us this for a long, long time, along with a strong reminder to never fear, to never be afraid. My friends, however you are feeling this day, I'm right there with you. I'm going through all the stages myself, just as you are. But I'm staying hopeful that this too shall pass. I'm going to center myself in that phrase of comfort spoken so many times amidst life's many difficulties. Be not afraid. I'm going to keep positive, like Jeremiah did sometimes. We will journey through some difficult times, that there is hope over the horizon waiting for us, that the ways of Herod, the ways of insurrection, the ways of sedition, and the ways of the one that we shall not name will be vanquished, and the way of goodness will prevail. We have to hold to that through all that is being thrown at us right now, from a pandemic to an insurrection and everything else that will come at us. We have to trust that, or we'll drive ourselves mad with hopelessness. And that is no way to live. Be not afraid. I want to end by sharing a poem that I came across in the end of Pope Francis's new book, wonderful book, called Let Us Dream, The Path to a Better Future. I highly recommend it to you. This poem is called Esperanza, or Hope. As Francis tells it, he came across it as it went viral, and he was so moved by it, he wanted to end his book with it. It's written by a man named Alexis Valdez, an actor and comedian in Miami. It was written in March of this last year. It speaks a prophetic vision of hope in really trying times, while still looking to the future, as Jeremiah did in his own time, knowing, trusting that there are better days ahead. Hear this poem, Esperanza, Hope, by Alexis Valdez. When the storm passes and the roads are tamed, and we are survivors of a collective shipwreck, with a weeping heart and destiny blessed, we will feel happy just for being alive. We will embrace the first stranger and praise the luck of holding on to a friend. And then we will remember everything we lost, and at once we will learn everything we had not learned. And we will not be envious, since we have all suffered. We'll no longer be idle. We'll be more compassionate. The common good will be worth more than that which we never had. We will be more generous and much more committed. We will understand how fragile it means to be alive. We will exude empathy for who is still with us and who has left. We will miss the old man who was asking for a peso in a market, whose name we never knew and was always beside you. Perhaps that the poor old man was your God in disguise. You never asked for the name because you were in a hurry. And everything will be a miracle, and everything will be a legacy, and life will be respected, and the life we have won. When the storm passes, I implore you in penitence to return us to be better as you had dreamed us. Beautiful words. Peace be with you all, my friends. Keep the faith that there are better days ahead. And most of all, don't be afraid. Amen.
Artist, creator, I give to you my heart. Mold me and make me into your
Faith UCC Radio returns, my friends. I was hoping I might be moving, but I'm not. I wonder if you'll join me in a journey ever deeper into the heart of the God experience, and where we meet this presence, this mystery we name God in the very core of our very being, where holy presence kindles eternally as a gentle flame, empowering us, filling us with courage, bringing comfort amidst the trying times. Close your eyes and reach for this presence that is a part of each of us and stands at the very heart and center of creation. Breathe deeply. Seek the divine flame warming you in this moment. Let's journey into a moment of stillness and silent prayer together. As we come back to the realm of words, let us do so while resting in gratitude this day. We need to hold on to the things we're grateful for the breath of a new day, for the sense of awe and wonder, for sunrises and sunsets, for the presence of loved ones, for a beach walk, the sounds of gently rolling waters, and the beauty of rainbows and colorful gift of diversity, for the beauty of snow-covered trees and hills. And how about just a chance to begin yet another day anew and meet it with courage and intention? Let's just stand in a spirit of gratitude for all that we hold. But let's also be in a spirit of hope this day, hope for those who are suffering amidst the turmoil in our nation. Hope for people seeking new life and new lands to call home, to raise a family, to make a living, to just be in safety. Hope that we can always follow the Jesus way, yes, even by loving our enemies and forgiving those who do us harm, as hard as that can be at times. And hope that we can find our prophetic voices and speak like prophets to all injustice. Hope that we can live in peace with lesser anxiety and more joy in this new year. For all of this and more, let us breathe hope this day. And finally, let us be in a spirit of presence with all those that we've named, that we hold in the stillness of our hearts, that are facing difficult times with illness and surgeries and pain and tests and waiting. Of course, presence with all those who are wrestling with addictions, and for those who feel as though the walls are closing in and there are just few options for joy in this life, and presence with all those who are making difficult decisions or struggling to make decisions in difficult times. For the presence in the hard times, for holy presence in the good times, in all times, let us pray this day. I wonder if you'll join me now, my friends, in praying together those words that Jesus will grow up on those ancient hillsides to teach us to pray about a better world, about all being fulfilled with the bread they need, about debts forgiven, about a new realm. Call it the Lord's Prayer. I invite you to choose your most cherished image, whether that be Father or Mother or Creator or something else. Please join me. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. Well, and there I am, still frozen. You can trying to get the green screen going behind me here. I don't know what's going on, but I promise you, my friends, I will figure this out, and we'll be back live next week. And if you really want to see me move, I do move. You can come to Zoom afterwards, and those codes will be again on the next couple of pages here. So please do chime in, and we'll talk about that sermon and just how you're feeling in this time. But hey, if you're really moved by this radio service, and you'd like to make a contribution, an investment, a gift to the work of this church, you can just go to our website. It's right below me here, www.faithucc.org. And there's Vanco and PayPal, two ways to make an investment in the work that we do. And as always, I just want to say thank you for your incredible generosity. Your giving knows no bounds, and I just want to say thank you for that. But before we do reconvene on Zoom, those of you that are going to join, we got to sing our way out of here. But before we do that, I just want to wish you a blessed week. I hope that this is a less anxiety-inducing week, and that our nation can begin healing a little bit, not forgetting. I'm so glad to see so many of these perpetrators being rounded up, including the guy in Florida that was trying to walk out with the speaker's lectern and smiling to the camera. Can you imagine throwing your life away? He's 36 with 5 kids, and he's looking at some serious prison time. I can't, it's just mind-boggling, isn't it? I'm just hoping that we can round up some more of these folks, we can have a great week, and we can march to January 20th in peace and get through that with peace. So I think this nation's coming together in a new way right now. I think some real hope has been galvanized. So I hope you feel that and sense that. And again, I wish you the most blessed of weeks. Make it a great one. Before we head on up with our day, though, let's join our voices in singing our benediction song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and let it begin with us. Us!
Peace that was then.
service. I'm just testing the camera. It's not live on camera today, so hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed the service. You might see me doing this a few times this week, but it's just running some tests. It seems like now we actually have a camera working. I don't know what happened. Well, we'll try it again, and I wish you all a great day and a great week. Seems to be working now. Who knew? Have a great week, my friends. Take care. Goodbye.